The new 2024-2025 Hong Kong racing season has just kicked off in the past week. Also kicking off this week, episode 1 of the all-new Hong Kong Racing Show. Welcome along, everybody, to the first episode of the brand new Hong Kong Racing Show. I'm Andrew Brown, joined by horse racing photographer extraordinaire and self-confessed Hong Kong racing junkie, Alex Evers. Each week, we're going to be delivering you the latest Hong Kong news, interviewing special guests, and we'll hopefully find you a winner or two in the process. Alex, you must have been a kid in a candy shop on Saturday. 11 races at Del Mar, all up 10 races from Sha Tin for the season opener. How happy are you that Hong Kong racing is back?
To me, that's the best weekend of sports, right? You get the end of Del Mar, which I'm so happy to get to Del Mar, but by the end of it, I'm exhausted and I'm ready to get done with it. And then Sha Tin starts up, so we got the gambling aspect of that because it's hard to bet when I'm taking pictures. And then Sunday, I'm exhausted, but it's Lions Sunday, first game of the week. It's just, there's nothing better. Nothing better in sports than horse racing, football, first weekend of everything. So good.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. And it was a pretty hot day at Del Mar too on Saturday. I was exhausted by the time Sha Tin rolled around on Saturday night, but I was hanging out for the Chief Executive's Cup. And then I kind of had to hit the hay after that. But I woke up to a text from you at around 2 a.m. Playing the Vincent Ho in the Del Mar Colors angle in race 9. So you were there until the end.
But I started with a winner in the first race. I had the trifecta in the second race. Then I went colder than ice to the middle of the card, but ended up coming back. We had gorgeous win the last race with Purton. Had the exacta there. Came out on top. It was good. Yeah, the handicapping angle of betting your friends in the Del Mar Silks, highly recommend against it. It was not successful. But I got a little bit of a thing that I've been doing this first week. I was looking at horses doing well first up. That was kind of my key angle. I'm going to carry forward with that this week until we get a couple weeks into the season. But that's where I'm at. It was a good day. I was still catching up on the sleep Monday and Tuesday. I'm not going to lie. I was exhausted on Sunday after staying up until 3 and 4, but it was totally worth it.
Understandably. And it was a great season opener from a wagering perspective too in Hong Kong. Year on year, wagering handle was up 8.6% to around $130 US, total 130 million, I should say, US dollars. Total attendance up 11,000, its highest since 2019. So the crowds are certainly getting back to Hong Kong racing. What about your highlight from the past week, Alex? Of course, we had Happy Valley on Wednesday, but most of the action happened at Sha Tin on Saturday night. Do you have a highlight?
Yeah, my highlight was just watching Zach back in form right out of the gates. 4 winners. We're going to be tracking his record to try to beat Douglas Wyatt here. He's 68 wins away. So for me, it was that. He was on fire as usual, coming out of the gate strong. If anybody's going to upset him for the premiership this season, it's going to take a Herculean effort because he is just going on all cylinders right out of the barriers.
Yeah, 4 winners on the night. Another winner at Happy Valley on Wednesday. I think he's got now 68 wins to break the all-time record of Douglas Wyatt, who won 13 straight jockey championships before it was Purton that broke his streak of 13 wins back in 2013. So when do you think he's going to break that record?
I hope it's when I'm there. I think it's going to probably line up with looking like maybe the end of January if he stays healthy and the horses keep running, end of January, beginning of February. So maybe right in line with the Classic Mile. And if that's the case, I'm going to be a happy guy.
Yeah. When you think about it and look back on Zach's achievements in Hong Kong, and when he first started, I think in 2007, 2008, obviously Douglas Wyatt was there, but the other jockeys that were there at the time, names such as Darren Beedman, Brett Preble, João Moreira obviously came along. The list goes on. Rispoli was there for a season. Like he just persevered through those early years where he was winning, 40, 50 races to begin with, and has just not only then survived that time against some of those all-time greats, but then thrived. It's pretty phenomenal what he's achieved.
I mean, a couple of years ago, he was going head-to-head with João Moreira down to the season finale there, and Joe's also a world-class rider, and to get mounts off of him. Plus, remember, Joe is lightweight, too, so he could ride some of the horses that Zach couldn't ride.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, and that's, to me, one of the great things about Hong Kong. I mean, even last season, the premiership for the trainers comes down to the last 3 races, which was insane.
Yeah.
Jockeys things are always tight. I mean, this year it looks like it's not going to be as tight as years past with Morera, but you never know. Like every year is different, and there's always surprises, and that's one of the excellent things about Hong Kong racing.
That's right, indeed. And perhaps this will be Zach's last year. I don't know if he's got much else to achieve. It was interesting. I heard him on Australian radio during the week, and someone asked him if he could just stick around for 1 or 2 more years until James McDonald comes over, so we could get a nice rivalry between Zach and James
Oh,
McDonald.
man. And James wants to go, too. I've heard Nicole wants him to get into training so she can stay in Hong Kong. That would be crazy, too, if Zach became a trainer in Hong Kong. That'd be
follow the same path of the person whose record he's potentially going to break.
Right, and it's just a brilliant place to operate for racing, and it's the schedule and everything like that. I can see why guys want to be there, and it's really incredible.
Yeah, well, one of Zach's 4 winners on Saturday night was, of course, the up-and-coming sprinting superstar Ka Ying Rising for trainer David Hayes, who carried the huge weight of 135 pounds in the Chief Executives Cup against a pretty quality Class 1 field as well. He was also carrying the weight of expectation, but he did it with ease, cruising to a 2-length win over Beauty Waves. What did you make of the performance, Alex, of Ka Ying Rising first off a layoff?
Well, as an American, right, for us to see a 20-pound weight spread in a horse race, that is absolutely crazy. Like, we think about days when Bobby Frankel would be shopping handicap weights and going to find the best weight for his horses, but there's nowhere else to go. So you're going to carry that 20-pound impost. As a punter, I was on Beauty Waves. I'm a big fan of that horse, and I thought the 20-pound difference was going to get him over the top. And at about the 200-meter mark, I was wishing I had gone the other way. But that was an incredible performance. And the only thing that I want to see is how he bounces back off that. Because I do know with the heat in the beginning of the season, sometimes horses that carry the high weight at the beginning of the season, it can kind of knock them out a little bit for a couple of races. But we'll see. He looked incredibly strong. And that sprint division with Lucky Suena still mending from injury, it is pretty open. We got Mugen and we got Victor the winner going to Japan. So it's looking like as we come up to the grade 2 sprint race before getting into HKR, I assume we might see Ka Ying Rising there, maybe one start before that. But he's got to be the favorite for Hong Kong for the sprint coming up in December. And that was really incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. David Hayes, the trainer, referring to him as being a bit special after the race. And as you mentioned, bigger goals lie ahead with the Group 1 Hong Kong Sprint on International Day coming up in mid-December. Time to check in with a few other of the news headlines, Alex. What's making news in Hong Kong at the moment? And I thought this was an interesting piece of news as we gear up for the Breeders' Cup, which is only 6 weeks or so away here at Del Mar. And we'll be welcoming, of course, City of Troy from the Aidan O'Brien stable. Now, City of Troy has a full brother in Hong Kong called Unbelievable, who has begun training again after picking up a tendon injury earlier on in the year. Unsurprisingly, this talented son of Justify is still an entire as well, which is pretty rare for Hong Kong racing. Over 90% of the horses are geldings. Frankie Law, no firm plans for him yet, but we look forward to him making his return soon. California Spangles plans are a little clearer. He's been set to return in the Group 2 Premier Bowl in October ahead of the Hong Kong Sprint on International Day. So that could be a nice clash between Ka Ying Rising, who we were just talking about then. Trainer Tony Cruz leaving the door open too for a return to Dubai next year, which I'm sure you'll be there.
I hope so.
Again. Also interesting, Dubai could be on the cards for Romantic Warrior next year too, who I thought was going to stay at home, but in the short term, that's where he will be staying. He'll make his return in November in either the Jockey Club Cup or the Jockey Club Mile ahead of trying to win the Hong Kong Cup for a third time in December. Alex, I would have loved to have seen Romantic Warrior at the Breeders' Cup after winning the Yoshida Keenan in Japan. You were there for that race. Was it ever on the cards that he might have come to San Diego?
I don't think so. I was getting into arguments with people on Twitter about it. I don't even know why I wasted time on it, but I couldn't imagine seeing him. We were lucky we got to see Rich Tapestry come over, and he beat Golden Sense in the Santa Anita Sprint Championships. I think it was in 2014, and that was before I was the self-proclaimed Hong Kong racing maniac and everything like that. But I think it would be hard for a turf horse from Hong Kong to come over to the United States, especially the Breeders' Cup, and run against international horses. And a horse like Romantic Warrior with that short stretch at Del Mar, I think it would be so tough. And there's so much in Hong Kong with so much money and prestige for the owners to win the big races after Breeders' Cup. It would be hard to want to knock the horse out to go on to run race at Del Mar, and I don't know. No, I'm not a shipping guy. You're not gonna find me complaining that horses don't ship. Like I said to other people, I'm like, There's websites where you can buy airplane tickets and hotels. If you want to go see a horse run, get on a plane and go see him run. But the shipping them just for the sake of shipping them, I don't know. It's not really my favorite thing.
Yeah, fair call. I mean, we are going to expect obviously a big Japanese contingent at the Breeders' Cup. I just thought a Hong Kong horse might add an interesting mix amongst all the other Europeans and everything as well. But maybe
we can
another time, right? It's not going to happen now, is it? And Alex, I've of course saved the biggest news story of the week for last, the retirement of Hong Kong's golden boy, Golden 60. You have been privileged to be personally involved with the horse and the team around him for some years now. I imagine it's a pretty bittersweet feeling to know that you've photographed him in a race for the last time.
It is, and it was, and I kind of accepted that in April that could have been, and that probably was going to be the end, but there was always that little glimmer of hope that maybe there was one more race, one more HKIR, one more opportunity. But I made all the pictures that I needed to make of him throughout his career, and from January on, when I was over there, I would go watch him gallop, cantered, whatever. Like I'd be up at 6 a.m. seeing his minimal track work just to see the horse every day. So he's given me more than enough, given my family more than enough, got me through COVID, made me not quit photography. He's done everything. So to me, the most special horse in my life, and it's going to be kind of, I say this, how difficult, because there might not be another one that means what he meant to me during the times that I needed that horse to come along. So Golden 60, you're the greatest to me. Thank you for everything you've done.
I think he's touched a lot of people, right around the world as well. An absolutely incredible career. What are his plans from now, Alex?
So it's looking like we're going to have a retirement ceremony next Sunday on the 22nd. He'll have a brief bit of quarantine in Hong Kong before he goes to Australia for more quarantine, and then from Australia into Japan, where it's difficult to retire geldings. You mostly see horses going over for breeding, not for retirement. So as the owner has a lot of business over there, loves Japan, he'll be able to go see him, and hopefully I'll get to go see him there. And what a legend, though. What a great horse. I mean, for a horse to break, I think he broke 22 seconds for his final sectional 9 times in his career, which is just absolutely insane to think about. And he did it over 2,000 meters and 1,600. And what a legend. Yeah. Just the best horse I've seen in person.
Unbelievable. And part of the reason too, retiring in Japan, because it's so close to Hong Kong. I noticed Vincent Ho at the retirement ceremony on Friday afternoon at Sha Tin said it will allow him to visit his mate. He calls Golden 60 his mate in Japan. Once a month, he's planning to fly to Japan to go and visit Golden 60.
I could see it. I could see it. I'll tell you this little brief story here at HKIR. When they do the jockey allocation on Monday morning, all the jockeys there, and they've trained out of their track work clothes, and they're in running pants and joggers and this whole line. And Vincent's the last guy there, and he comes in all his riding gear, and they hadn't track work had been closed for 2 hours. Got his vest on, his boots on, and sand everywhere. It's like, oh, I go, where were you? He's, oh, yeah, I had a horse to ride, blah, 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 blah. I was like, yeah, right. He was out there with Golden 60, walking him, feeding him carrots. He spent every day with that horse. Anytime he had a free moment, he would go over and see him and visit him. And just, no doubt that's why that horse was so successful, was the relationship with Vincent and all the people around him. And it was incredible to photograph. It was incredible to see. Hopefully I was able to share that story with some people that otherwise wouldn't have been exposed to the horse or Hong Kong racing, because it truly was unique. And I don't think I'll ever see another one or a story like that, hopefully. But yeah, I made all the pictures I needed to make, and I had so many great memories, and so it makes it a little bit easier on me.
Right, give us a race, one race. What do you remember the most, which in terms of his career?
The Stewards Cup with the saddle towel right there. The big 3. He beat California Spangle, who went on to win in Dubai. He beat Romantic Warrior, who went on to go to the Cox Plate with COVID and him not being able to travel at his peak. It was like, to see what they have done after that, it made that race a little bit more special. And the day I'll never forget. It was awesome. It was incredible.
And to beat those 2 horses that have gone on and won internationally, just shows that potentially undisputed Hong Kong,
the greatest horse in Hong Kong history. Yeah.
The winner. Go on.
He's up there with Silent Witness and Good Baba and the best that they've seen in Hong Kong, hands down, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. The winner of 26 races, including 10 Group 1s. Of course, he went on that incredible streak of, I think, 16 consecutive wins at one point as well, and won more prize money than any other horse anywhere in the world. He will be missed, and we wish Golden 60 the happiest of retirements in Japan. Thank you for sharing a few of your memories, Alex. Coming up next, our special guest, Andie Biancone. Okay, it's time to welcome a familiar face on the Hong Kong Racing North America airwaves, Andie Biancone, who's getting set for the season opener at Churchill Downs. Andie, thank you so much for joining us. A nice hit with Ka Ying Rising on Saturday night too with your best bet. What did you make of the performance?
Oh, thank you, Andrew. I mean, that was kind of the Captain Obvious horse. I feel like everybody had him. He was just the class of the field in that spot, and I thought his performance was great. He just sat off the speed and kicked it on home clear, won easy, even carrying the heaviest weight, but he just far outclassed the field. So he was, like I said, the Captain Obvious guy. But I was happy to see him get the job done.
Hey, a winner is a winner, and it was better than bank interest. So we'll chalk that one up to one tip, one win for you for the season. Now, Andie, we've got you on because obviously, as I mentioned, you're a familiar face, but our audience, not everyone may know that you were actually born in Hong Kong. For those that
Yeah.
aren't familiar with your story, can you go back and take us to the start?
Sure. So my dad, obviously, he started his career in France, and he moved to Hong Kong in the '90s. Was there from 1990 to 2000. So spent 10 years training at Sha Tin, um, and he met my mom there, and she was actually the first Miss Hong Kong. So Xun Wing Yang, that's her name, uh, and yeah, they, I guess, had me. I was born in '97. I don't recall too much of my early childhood, although I do remember living on the top floor in Sha Tin and looking out of my window and seeing the racetrack. And I went to preschool called Fong Fong Lok Choi, and we moved to the United States in 2000. But my papa and Gong Gong still live there. Well, my Gong Gong is passed now, but my papa still lives uh, in Hong Kong. That's my papa is what you call your grandmother on your mom's side. But I still go back and visit her every year. Have not been back since COVID, unfortunately. But growing up, we'd go back every year, and uh, Hong Kong is like my second home. So
And your mum was Miss Hong Kong. How about that?
she's she's always been very frustrated with me because I've always been like a very barn rat, like rolling around in horse poop, like just wanted to ride every weekend, like my dad's little shadow, and she was just always very frustrated, like with that, like she's like, "Don't be horse trainer, your skin, you're gonna ruin your skin. Stay out of the sun." And I'm just like baking in the sun at horse shows. She's like, "Terrible." Yeah. So
That's
It
good.
is true though. Like I've noticed after being in Delmar for 8 weeks, I'm looking really beat up being in the sun every single day. Gets you.
you know what? Elaine is looking good. Like she's she's probably right. I'm not gonna discredit any of her beauty hacks or whatever, but yeah, I think she's kind of we relate a little bit more now that I've like gotten a little more into broadcasting and had to like learn how to put on mascara and stuff. Like that's gives us some more things to relate on. But yeah, she's definitely it's crazy, when she goes back there, she's people recognize her, and it's just wild. Like
That's
people in my like elementary school, like at the PTA, would recognize her, and I would be like so embarrassed.
Wait, that's my mom. Relax, guys.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Ah, yeah, Xun like,
But
yeah,
it's true. It's
so
such a celebrity culture over there. Like it's
it
racing
is.
and outside pop stars. Like if people see somebody they recognize, it's like it's an awesome thing.
Yeah, and especially in the racing community, like
Hmm.
horse trainers there are like freaking rock stars. Like it's unbelievable. My dad actually said when he first asked my mom out on a date, she was like, well, we have to go somewhere really private because like everybody knows me or whatever. And he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. They go out on a date, and my dad says she comes to lunch like with a scarf around her neck and like sunglasses, just like totally incognito. And then he said that a couple of people like recognized him and were like, "Oh yeah, like Bun Hong, hello, like what up?" And she got like so offended because nobody, and so she started like taking off the scarf, like, "Hey, like."
It's true though. Like some of
That's
those big jocks can't go out to eat without getting mauled by people that want to see it. It's wild. You imagine being like a movie star in Los Angeles and going out to eat. That is what being in racing in Hong Kong is like. And It's really wild. It's awesome to see because like we love it so much. And you know, you go in the United States, you can walk around anywhere, be a jockey, and someone probably wouldn't recognize you. But if you were in like
Maybe.
Elmar or Saratoga or Kentucky, obviously Hong Kong, the whole place is like that. It's just
Yeah, it's like the Kroger in Hot Springs, but like the whole Hong
country.
Kong. You know what I mean? Like the same when somebody in Arkansas, like in the Kroger at Hot Springs, like when they recognize you, it's the same vibe as the entirety of Hong Kong.
Yep,
But
it's wild.
yeah,
Does your dad still keep an eye on Hong Kong racing, Andy, or do you ever sort of have conversations with him about Hong Kong racing?
a little bit. David Hayes was actually our neighbor, and like my brother used to do Ben Hayes' homework, and he when I but when I
So
first
good.
started doing handicapping the races for you guys, I had gotten in touch with David Hayes a couple of times just to like get me informed on what was going on over there and etc. And it was really great to connect with him. But no, my dad mostly just focuses on his small string of horses. He's very like in the moment kind of guy, and you know the the racing hours kind of conflicts with his bedtime and training schedule. So
Yeah. Now
That is very true.
take note, Alex. It sounds like Andy's got a hotline through to David Hayes for us to get us all the latest information. So we'll have to take
I know.
advantage.
And see if we get the brothers bringing some horses in. Maybe get a first time starter that we don't know about. But you hit on something interesting there about Hong Kong, and it's different than anywhere else in the world. Is like the trainers and the jockeys, the people you're competing with are your next door neighbors where you live, and you live on the race course. Like it's not,
yeah.
you can't really get away from it. It's really really unique, and I think it creates a special environment that the guys and the families are together kind of consistently.
Yeah.
It does, and a lot of memories are created. Like just obviously, we've been out of Hong Kong for several years, but just still having that connection with the Hayes and stuff. And they've always been very kind to my dad. Like, oh, like send Andy over here, like put her to work and whatever. My dad's like, no, I'm making her work, but maybe one day. Yeah, so really, really cool. And like you said, Alex, it's amazing the sense of community there.
That's very cool. What about from a handicapping perspective, Andy? And you've been doing tips for Hong Kong Racing North America for a while now. Any sort of differences you found or keys that you like to tap into when you're looking at the Hong Kong racing form that you might not look into when you're considering American races?
Obviously, it's just so much fun to handicap handicaps. Like, like it's like a whole new level of fun. Whereas in America, you know, the weights don't really differ so much unless you have an apprentice rider, which I still look at the weights. Like, I will, you know, give a speed horse who's getting 7 pounds off, even if it's a really, you know, the apprentice is unexperienced or whatever. Like, I think that's a significant advantage. But in Hong Kong, just paying attention to the weights is so much fun because a horse maybe doesn't do as well in this race and then gets in a little lighter next time, but they really only lost by a couple of lengths. And that is significant. And you can really make good money wagering that way just based on, you know, those small increments that these horses are losing by and the weights that change every race. I think it's really interesting, but it does take a lot. You have to pay attention and you have to watch replays. Like there's no like, and the Hong Kong Jockey Club is amazing. They really provide you so much detail with everything, and everything is so easy to access. So there's really no excuse. But I really enjoy it. I had a terrible picking season last season. So unlucky. I could not pick a winner, I swear. But I was happy to see Ka Ying Rising win. Hopefully, that's an omen of a better season this time around.
You're like nobody. You're like nobody was not on that horse, and I was like, oh yeah, I was not on that horse. I was trying to because the weights, because so many horses in that race have run at high weight and season opening and had not won in the history of that race. I think it had been like 25 years since the high weight had won that race or something. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. And I'm a pedigree guy, and I don't know why. I like certain pedigrees, and I like Star Spangled Banners, and I like that Beauty Waves. I tend to, as an idiot, if I've been drinking and having a good time on Saturday night because the races are on so late, I'll bet the ones that I photographed in the past. But I was like, I'm going to get this one
Cool.
today. We're going to get over the top on this favorite. I was excited to actually bet that race against him. And then,
Wow. Okay. Thank
little
you for making me feel better because I was like, everybody had this horse. Like,
no, I
we're
was like,
not.
I was like, the weight's going to get him today, and I'm going to go. But that's what's so great about it is some horses can carry high weight and be successful, and some horses can't. And if you kind of have to watch and you kind of have to take notes and know. But if you do find an opportunity where a horse hasn't run well at high weights, and he's up there. Maybe it gives you an opportunity to play against it. And as you mentioned with the apprentices, it happens a lot here too, where high weights get 7-pound, 10-pound allowances. I think we'll see Brittany Wong, the new rider. I bet we see her in a couple weeks as she gets more familiar with Hong Kong racing and the way the pace is and everything. I wouldn't be surprised to see her catch some winners at high weights, getting the 10 pounds off, and they run well.
Absolutely. Like you said, some horses do okay with the high weight. And I think a lot of it depends on style as well and just the class of the horse. Like Colleen Rising had been facing a lot deeper waters than the waters he met that day. So the weight really wasn't so much of a deciding factor. And also the fact that he was able to sit a perfect trip. He really sat close, up by the pace, had things his way, and just kind of rallied home at the right time. So it wasn't a huge, feel like the weight really comes in handy when you've got a horse who has to rally from way off of it, or a speed horse hanging on. But especially rallying horses who can kind of get in trouble and lose by small margins. I feel like that weight off, it equates to lengths. It really does. So just really pay attention to horses who are losing by small margins of lengths and the weight.
Well, Andie, before we let you go, I just want to play a quick game with you to find out whether or not these days you're more American or more Hong Kong.
Okay.
It's very easy, one or the other. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Sha Tin or Saratoga?
Sha Tin.
Oh, so that's one for Hong Kong. Okay, Zach Purton or Flavian Pratt?
Oh my gosh. Jeez. Flavian Pratt. He had such a good summer. Come on.
Okay, so we've squared things up, one apiece. California Spangle or California Chrome?
Spangle.
Okay, Hong Kong has taken the lead, leading 2-1. Final question. Let's see who wins it. Dim sum or hot dog?
Dim sum all day. Come on.
That's not even, that's
Give me
like
some hagao, some lo my guy. Pass it on. I'm ready.
dim sum or hot dog. You
dog.
couldn't come up with
Couldn't
anything
say, like,
other than hot
Chick-fil-A?
dog.
No. Dim sum would still beat Chick-fil-A. I'm trying to think like what's a
fair
American
comparison? You got something for me, Alex?
like a tomahawk.
I would say
or
like brigantine fish tacos or.
Dude, but I do love America. I'm a Cowboys fan. I think about this all the time. I'm like a child of immigrant parents, like born in Hong Kong, and I'm like, I'm a Kentucky girl. I love Buc-ee's. I like the Cowboys. Like, I'm like, stop at Buc-ee's on the way from Kentucky Downs. It's so embarrassing. We'll just.
And I'm the opposite. I'm trying to be less American. I'm like, oh, can I go have some dim sum?
Yeah, trying to be less American.
I'm just trying to get rid of the taxes, to be honest. I just want that 10% tax rate in Hong Kong. I'll do anything to get that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, Andie, we know that you've got a busy night ahead of you at Churchill Downs, so we better let you go. But thank you very much for coming on and being the very first guest on the brand new Hong Kong racing show. We look forward to having you back soon. I'm sure we're going to hit you up quite regularly to get you back on the show.
Awesome. Love it, guys. Had so much fun. Thank you for having
Thanks,
me.
Andie.
Thanks, Andie. All right, time to find a few winners as we look ahead to racing at Sha Tin on Saturday night. First post is 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern. 3 competitive-looking Class 3s to round out the 10-race card. And we're going to take a look at race 8 for you, which is on the all-weather Packing Bowl, the morning line favourite with Jerry Chow up for Danny Shum. Alex, I know you've gone through this field. Who do you like here?
I'm on Purton and Chris O's horse here, Super Wind Dragon. The beginning of the season, I've been playing horses that have had success first up and second up. His record, first up, he's run 6 times. He's got a win. He's run 2 seconds off the bench. That's what we got here. He's had a lot of success on the all-weather course. He's won 4 times out of 23 starts, which in Hong Kong, that's pretty good. Good barrier, good jockey. That's where I'm going with this race. And hopefully Packing Bull takes some money and we maybe get, 3.2 if we're lucky.
3.2. You've got 13-1 on the morning line here for Super Wind Dragon.
He's 13-1. See, I don't know morning lines. It's afternoon for me, brother. We don't know morning lines.
Some succulent odds. Let's hope it stays double figures and you get the money there. I'm going to go with number 1, Capital Delight, who's a little short of 5-1 on the morning line. Another one that runs really fresh, Alex. He's 3 for 6. First off the layoff, track and distance suits 2. He's the last out winner of the course and trip. Pace a little bit of a concern for me here because he is a closer and there doesn't look to be a lot of pace in this race, but hopefully V-Ho will have him close enough as they make the turn. Before we move on, just I'd like to sort of ask your opinion on something. This is, of course, on the all-weather surface at Sha Tin. Can you just sort of explain the difference between the all-weather and an American dirt? Because even though it's called all-weather, it's quite similar, isn't it?
It's in fact, it's the surface that Santa Anita and Del Mar were before we pulled them out and had polytracks put in 2006, 2007. It's an old dirt wood chip based surface that's manicured and maintained in the most incredible way. Like the tractor tires don't overlap each other to create biases on the track, inside, outside. They've got custom built harrows that keep the kickback and the harrow marks down. So there's no shadows on it for the horses to prevent shadow jumping. And for the jockeys, they wear like almost exactly what they would wear on the turf. They wear the little sand visor, they'll wear the turf goggles, and you rarely see guys with kickback hitting them in the face. So as far as punting, if you're looking to bet closers in Sha Tin on the dirt, you're going to be fine. Horses can close on that track, and you get less of the kickback affecting the horses where it hits them and kind of discourages them from running into it. Where it's, you can imagine it's Santa Anita where they add sand, and that sand is just hitting them in the face, or Japan, where you rarely see horses coming from way, way back running through the kickback. You can travel anywhere in the field at Sha Tin, and it stays down. I think that has a big factor is why you see horses closing. Also, in addition, if it does rain a lot and they're going to expect a lot of moisture on that all-weather track, they change the training on it, and they don't let as many fast horses work to the inside to keep the base and everything level and straight. And it does present a fairer track as the days go on, where you'll see in American dirt racing, you hear like the golden rail, or you'll hear inside bias or speed bias or this, that, the other. If you watch this Sha Tin all-weather track play out, it plays very much like turf all-weather. You can kind of come from anywhere. If the pace is proper on the front, you can stay. If it's a moderate pace, you can come from behind. It's never really that biased. So as far as that, it's really unique. And, going back, we mentioned him earlier, Rich Tapestry, we were talking about the Breeders' Cup stuff. When he came to Santa Anita to run in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship against Golden Sense, when you pull up the daily racing form, it said AWT, and it was marked as an all-weather racehorse. So for us, we were, assuming like a poly track that you see at Woodbine, something like that. But that horse legitimately was basically running on the same surface at Sha Tin, training on it that he was going to run on race day, and he ended up hitting it 7-1 in a 6-horse field. So just think old Del Mar, old Santa Anita, wood chip based dirt surface, managed perfectly, lots of cushion, very fair. That's what you need to know on it.
Beautiful.
But it is dirt.
Beautiful. There you go. Some more tips from Alex about the track surfaces there. And we're going to get lots more tips from him throughout the season on the Hong Kong Racing Show. Speaking of tips, Alex, does Super Win Dragon in race 8, is he your best bet on the card, or have you got another horse for us?
Well, now that you're telling me he's 13-1, I mean, of course, that's got to be my best bet right there. Now I just have to be able to stay up until race 8 on Saturday night. That's going to be the challenge for me.
You'll have no problems. It's only Los Al this weekend. You'll be fine.
But my wife's got dinner plans and stuff. Who knows? Saturday night's always a mystery to me.
Well, my best bet on Saturday night at Sha Tin, early hours Sunday morning. I'm going to the penultimate race of the night with Magic Control, who arrived last season from Australia, having won 3 of 5, including the Group 3 Red Anchor Stakes at Moonee Valley under a different name. He was called Archo Nacho then. But in a recent trial, he actually defeated none other than Ka Ying Rising. So look out for Magic Control in that penultimate race at Sha Tin on Saturday night. And that wraps up the first show of the season, the Hong Kong Racing Show. Alex Evers, thank you very much for joining me, and good luck with all of your selections on Saturday night at Sha Tin.
Thank you, mate. You as well.
And we'll see you for episode 2, hopefully, next week. If you've got any feedback or questions, or if you want us to answer your questions on the show, make sure you leave a comment and let us know what you want us to talk about next week. And we will see you for week 2 of the Hong Kong Racing Show.